Hi guys, and welcome back. If you have watched all 46 videos, thank you. I know that was an immense challenge for both me and you to get through all those videos. And now it's time for what I want to call like the little recap, to give you guys some information and data that I kind of pulled from these 46 books. So it's important that you go watch them because you may see spoilers of some of the books I read. And if you don't want that to happen, obviously go watch the other videos first. Now, to start this, we're going to talk about page length first. I don't know why, this is just the first category that I was kind of interested in. And the interesting thing is I kind of thought, I ended up reading more than I thought in some page lengths, and I'll get to that in a minute. The first thing I want to say is what the longest book I read in this challenge, birthday advent gift from my cousin, was this book, which was The Mysterious Benedict Society at 485 pages of story. And again, when I talk about page lengths, I'm talking about the editions that Terri got me. I know the page length can vary, whether it's hardcover or paperback, so I'm just going off of what I was given. So this was the longest book. Compare that to the shortest book of The Cave of the Lost Fraggle at 29 pages. And they kind of almost have a similar color scheme. I just realized that with the kind of yellowish cover and the red title. Didn't realize that. But I thought that was kind of interesting to see the difference between the shortest and the longest. Now going from that, I went into a little more detail because I was curious about categories of pages. So if you see me look down, I'm just checking my notes real quick to make sure I don't mess up. So the first thing I wanted to do was how many books out of the 46 did I read that were under 100 pages? And that ended up being 7. The next category was 100 to 200 pages, and that number was 13. The next was 200 to 300, which was 15 books. 300 to 400 pages was 6 books, and I ended up reading 5 books that were over 400 pages, which I was kind of surprised. I did not realize I had read that many over 400 pages until I was like going, oh yeah, because I was looking at all the books going, oh, that one was over 400 pages. I didn't quite realize some of them. So again, that means out of all these books, the most common page numbers were between 200 and 300 pages at 15 books read. Next, we're going to talk about the ratings. Okay, looking at the ratings of these books, I kind of broke it down by 5-star, 4-star. I pretty much printed out a sheet that kind of ranked them so I could more easily do the math of counting up how many. And I end up giving only one book a 5-star. I gave 15 books a 4-star. I gave 9 books a 3.75 star rating. I gave 12 books a 3.5 rating. I gave 1 book a 3.25 rating. I gave 5 books a 3 rating, a 3.0 rating or 3 rating, whatever you want to say. I gave 2 books a 2.75 rating, and I gave 1 book a 2.5 stars. So I thought that was kind of interesting. That means the most popular ranking was actually giving a book a 4-star. I did 15 books as a 4-star, and I didn't realize that either until I started looking at it. I was like, okay. But that also means that if I took all the ratings I gave and I added them all up, divided them by 46, the average rating was a 3.63. So I was like, oh, it would have been cool if it could have been closer to 4, but I didn't think that was too bad. I was like, wow, 46 books, okay. And also going along with the page numbers we discussed in the ranking, I was curious how many roughly pages I read in this book, and I'm just talking about the amount of times I turned the page, because again, page length varies by the edition. I ended up turning the page at least 10,200-ish times. I'm like, oh, I gotta work out. So that was really amazing when you look at the different page lengths and all that, how it all adds up to actual page count, which I know, like I said, there's variance to that, and that's okay. So let's get into some other categories of the oldest, the newest, and a few other things I want to talk about. Okay. So now I want to talk about what the oldest story was that I read and the newest story that I read. The oldest was Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. The story came out in 1847. This edition came out from the 80s, but because it was the same story, I went by when the story was created. Then the newest one ended up being the 5 Nights at Freddy book coming out this year in 2024. So definitely a wide range between the oldest story and the newest, which I thought was kind of cool. And then I was like kind of curious, because I got a little curious, of how many books kind of fell under certain years. And I went and looked, and I realized that Terri gave me 19 books that covered from the 1847 range up till 1996. And then there was a 4-year gap where there was no books from 1996 to 2000. And then the rest of them, 27 of them, were from 2000 to 2024. So I thought that was really interesting that Terri got me more books that were from the years 2000 to now than she did earlier, but she still did quite a bit from earlier times. I think the 80s had one of the highest numbers for when she got me, like, in a decade. Now let's take a look at where Terri got the books. Okay, so Terri ended up getting books from different locations, as I mentioned in some of the videos. I didn't always say where she got them, but I wanted to do a tally of that as well, because again, I was just curious. Okay, so where did Terri get them? From the Salvation Army, Terri found 16 books for me. From Goodwill, Terri found 10 books. From Dollar Tree, she found 2. And from her own collection and from her boyfriend, she found 8. From the bins, as she calls the bins, she can explain that more down below, she found 2. From the Red Wagon Market, she got 1 book from there. She got 1 book from Walmart, which might have been the Five Nights at Freddy that I talked about. And then from Friends, she ended up getting 6 books that came from Friends. So I thought that was really kind of interesting, like to see almost where she shopped the most, it felt like, or where she found the best choices for me, which I thought was kind of interesting. Now, going along with that a little bit is I wanted to know if any authors repeated in this challenge. And only 2 authors repeated out of the 46 books. One being Mary Downing Hahn, who wrote The Doll in the Garden and Guess that you saw me review. And then the other was Vera Strange, who did the Disney Chills books that I reviewed, the one called Part of Your Nightmare and the one called Second Star to the Right. So that's not bad. Out of 46 books, she only repeated an author twice. That was pretty good. So now let's look into a little bit more before I tell you what my favorite books are and if I would ever do this challenge again. So I want to kind of give you a little side note of some things that I kind of learned from this challenge that if you were to do for somebody else, might help them out as well. So what are some things first that I learned about this challenge before I get in again to the favorites of mine and the least favorites of mine? Was I always laughed when Terri didn't think a book would take that long. I'm sorry, Terri, you did say that sometimes because like, yeah, the book itself looked like it shouldn't be too bad a read. There were some that I was expecting to be a quicker read that took way longer than I thought. So definitely if you do this challenge for somebody related to the birthday and they're as old as me, where they're going to have like 46 books or more to get through, it's almost ask them if they want a page limit. Because I think if I ever did this again, I would want a page limit. Because it was hard. I mean, as you noticed, as I said, I had 5 books or whatever that were over 400 pages. And given that I knew when I wanted to start posting the videos, I started getting a little overwhelmed, wondering if I would get through all the books in time. And that's just part of my personality, probably. I was just like, I need to get this all done. Because for me, summer was approaching, and I knew filming in the summer months would be harder because I would need to have my AC or my fans off to not have a lot of background noise. As you saw in some videos, I end up with some background noise, and I do apologize for that. So that's one tip, is if you're going to do this for somebody and they want to film it for YouTube, be mindful of where they live and ask them when the best time to get the books would be so that you can take into consideration if it has to do with weather. Because again, it was really hard. I was trying to take breaks in between books, especially if I was one I didn't really care for, in order to kind of refresh before I went into the next one. So definitely be mindful of exactly how much time someone would need. I started reading these books at the very end of April, pretty much May. I didn't finish the last book until sometime in August. So I was cutting it somewhat close on getting the books read, edited, reviewed, and scheduled to come up for you guys starting in August 7th. So I put a little pressure on me to get it done, and it was the tail. I felt like I was behind, even though I technically wasn't. So really make sure you talk to whoever you're giving books to of how much time they think they want to do the whole process. And again, ask them if there's any guidelines. Now, it's time to talk about my favorite books and my least favorite books. Alright, let's look at my favorite books. I'll start with the good. There are 2 books, because I couldn't really decide exactly between a couple of them, so there's 2 that were my favorite. So, and let me know if you think these are my choices, or if you guessed right on my choices. The first was A Thousand Splendid Suns. This book was the one, if you didn't see the video for it, make sure you go check it out. It was day 45, so go back to day 45. This one just had so much going on. It had so many emotions. It was the only book I gave a 5-star to, so this was definitely up there with one of my favorites. The next book that was my favorite I'm not sure if this will surprise Terry or not, was Alice Austen Lived Here. I thought this book did a great representation for the LGBTQ community. So if you get a chance, go back to day, because I have the dates in them. Day 41, if you want to know what I thought of this book. So definitely when you look at my favorites, there's such a difference. Though in some ways they're similar, because this is about a group where like the men kind of control things a little bit, and this is kind of like dealing with people not being accepting of people of the LGBT community in a way. So definitely two different spectrums in a way, but yet somewhat similar. Let me know your thoughts down below what your favorite books were that I read in this challenge, if you've read any of them yourself. Now, for my least favorite, which I think some of you might know. Just if you've been watching these videos all along, you know probably the two that I'm going to be picking mainly. And let's see if you're right. My two least favorite books was Dreamquake, which is day 18 if you want to go check out my review for that. And then Wuthering Heights, which is day 42. So if you want to go check out those reviews. Did not like these two books. These books took me the longest to get through. And I think they each were, let me see. Yeah, this was under 400 pages. This was a little over 400 pages for the edition, which is really surprising. Like, this looked like a book that I could get through relatively easy, and so did this. And both of these probably took me the longest to read. So that is just kind of showing you that you can't always judge a book by page length, I guess. So those were my least favorite. So now, sorry, I had an itchy nose. So now let's take a minute and discuss would I do this again. Okay, so in the last one, I believe was the birthday one, Terry asked a question, see you at your 50th, like basically would I do this birthday one again? I don't think I'd do the birthday one again, because 50 books, or even 47 if I did next year, way too many to try to do and have them all up day after day after day. It was a lot of just trying to keep track of things to make sure that I did post them in time. So I don't think I would do a birthday one again unless I did it where it was one book a week, like, you know, over 50 weeks or 47 weeks, where each week I would unveil one for a book challenge while I'm still doing other videos. Because I really just honed it on this one, and I didn't do a lot of content, opposite content that I wanted to do on here of other books, because I really just wanted to stick with the book one, birthday one, to get it done. So I don't know if I do well, pretty much probably wouldn't do a birthday one. But that doesn't mean I may not take on other challenges, like maybe a 13 days of Halloween or 12 days of Christmas. If Terry wanted to do it with me, or if somebody else wanted to do it, like my teenager wanted to pick out the books or something, I may do that, but I would probably have more stipulations. Because I think it's important to give guidelines for the person that's doing it. And Terry and I kind of had some. Like, nothing was off limits to her. I told her any book would count, you know, kids book, nonfiction, whatever, as you saw with all the books through this challenge. But I do think if I did another one, whether it's 13 days or 12 days of Christmas, I probably would try to put a little more guidelines in there in terms of page length, in terms of, you know, maybe, you know, I'm not sure. Like, I mean, I'd probably make sure she doesn't have an author repeat, or maybe still kid books and non-kid books would be fine, but no, I don't think I would do nonfiction. I really had more fun with the fiction books than the nonfiction in this challenge. As you remember, I had a brownie one, I had one about healthy habits, I think it was, and then one about an YouTube star of somebody I've never heard of. Those were okay, but I really had more fun with the actual story ones. So I would say if I did either of those challenges, I would kind of cut out anything that was nonfiction and focus on stories. But I don't regret doing this challenge. It was very fun. I'm very thankful for Terry to do this. It was a big project for both her and I to undertake, her trying to find the books. And I like that she was trying to be strategic in her books, and it wasn't like she just randomly went into a store and grabbed 46 books and be like, okay, that's it. She actually put thought into the kind of books that she wanted me to read. So that was kind of fun. And I think that I would challenge you, if you're watching this, to do this kind of challenge for yourself, and even do your own little recap video. I kind of wanted to do this recap video, not just for you guys, but for myself, because I'm old and I will probably forget some of this stuff. So having a documentation of it is kind of fun. So I do challenge at least somebody that's watching to do this challenge for your birthday as well, but maybe if you're not 46, maybe if you're in your 20s, that could be handled. But if you're somebody that's my age or older and you do decide to do this kind of book challenge with a friend, make sure you let me know. I would love to watch that video, or videos I should say, because I think it'd be really, really fun. I've seen other booktubers do like Advent style one where they wrap up almost their own books and they number them. I'm like, well, it's not fun if you wrap up your own books and you number them. It's more fun when somebody else does it for you. So I challenge somebody out there to do this with a friend. I think it could be really fun. And it might even, if you have a child that's really big into reading, this could be really fun to do for their next birthday as well. Not necessarily to film, but I would love to hear if anyone does this kind of challenge for a family member or a friend, whether you film it or not. And as always, make sure you check the description box for any of my information down there. And please hit that subscribe button and the bell icon to be notified of future videos. And give this video a thumbs up if you plan on doing this challenge with somebody in the future. And have a great day, everyone.